works. I was just watching Rabbi Walicki about why this is taking so long and everything. And yeah, I'm just still going to hold out on thinking that this is some kind of a long game, trying to get them comfortable, but meanwhile they're getting more weapons, and we know where they all are, and we don't hit them until we're quote-unquote retaliating. But you know, it's a losing game. No matter how much you degrade them, they're always going to rebuild, because Satan never gives up. And those Straits of Hormuz will never be safe. They'll never be safe. So all the trouble and expense we have gone through and spent, and the lives it has caused, it's just what is that, where you go around in a loop? You're just looping. An insane loop, because you're not killing the enemy. And so the strait will never be free. And there's always going to be, it's going to be worse now in the strait, because how they say about insurance, and people are afraid, and you're just, it's like when you poke a bear, and then when you're just going to make them more mad. So if you leave without finishing it, without killing them, they're going to come back madder, angrier, more, oh, we got to pay them back. We got to, you know. So the whole key is to, yeah, they don't have nuclear. I don't know. Maybe Trump got in there and realized this is worse than he thought. Maybe they have more tunnels in Gaza and they're bigger. But I'm just saying, unless you free that country like a good Christian human being, you know, let the oppressed go free, loose bonds of wickedness, break the yoke, that strait will never be free, because the humanity part is missing. The humanity part of the Iranian people, the humanity part of the Israeli people, the humanity part of the whole effed up Middle East. It's being placated. It's being reasoned with, as if you can reason with the devil. So I know that the war room and everybody in there is hitting all points and cylinders. You know, maybe we're out of money, kind of. Maybe we're biding our time. Maybe we're in the process of building some super machine that's going to do something. I don't know, but I know that all this following it and reasoning it out and wondering and going back and forth, plus you got other facets of negotiating with these Middle Easterners like Saudi Arabia and whoever else over there. So I'm sure the war people over there in the White House, I'm sure they have all these things in mind, and they know that strait will never be free. And that's the whole goal, to free the world, so that, you know, anyway, yeah, if they don't kill this devil, there's if you don't kill this devil, the head of the snake, they're going to continue with all their proxies and all their funders. The funders will keep sending them money and weapons, but if you kill that head of the snake all the way, then then yeah, there's going to be no more uh, growing. They can't grow again. They can't rise back up again, no matter how slowly. There's no way. But if you keep messing around with them, but like I said, surely Trump and the war tactical people know what they're doing. They know all these things. They know they're in a bind about that strait. Because these demons, they're going to keep on and keep on. If we walked away now, oh yeah, they're very degraded. But they're going to keep growing back, and they're going to be injured and angry. And of course, we're always the bad guys, just like the Jews are the bad people for being the victim and sticking up for themselves. So now they've put Trump in a coffin and made all these big posters of how, Trump's going to die, and everybody else, yeah, they're angrier. And they're just going to get more vengeful if we even walked away now. And if we walked away now, because they're so degraded, the strait will never be free. So isn't that the main thing? We don't want those missiles. And then, yeah, we want to free the world of this dictatorship on the Strait of Hormuz. That has to be free. That strait has to be free, and it will never be free. So this is sheer retardation. I mean, 1,000% retarded. All of it. That's why I think it is some kind of game that they're playing, a long game, and they're going to get the last laugh. I think I heard a couple of times that maybe we're short on money, and I think Trump has asked for more money, and of course the Democrats don't want to okay that. So anyway, this has to be a game, y'all. There's no way. There's no way. I mean, it's getting farther out to where now we can see more of the big picture that the strait is never going to be free unless you kill that demon and overthrow all of Iran so that the Iranians can be free and Reza can be in there. But there must be some snags with Saudi Arabia and Reza. They don't maybe like him, or the Jews, or the Israel, or, this is also evil and petty when Israel and the Jews have never done anything to anybody but good. And yet everybody wants to hate them. No, we don't like them. We like the demons. We like Palestinians. Yeah. And don't forget, probably on October 7th, all those Palestinian protesters were there in a heartbeat. Maybe it was on the 8th. This is all planned out, y'all. It's a planned demolition of the world. It is. All the Muslims coming in, and we're fighting them over there, but yet everybody else is letting them in. So it's retardation on a mass scale. It makes absolutely no sense. It's utter chaos and confusion, and that's what the devil is the author of. The devil is the author of confusion. So when it's just so cut and dry, and it is the Christian, humane thing to do to set those Iranians free, the strait would be free. But if there's some snags with some money, some weapons, some Middle Easterners that don't want to get along with the Jews, then hey, that's just a demonic foundation right there. And if you don't undo that foundation, if you can't, that's one thing. But if you can, and who knows, maybe when it's all said and done, we're all going to be like, oh, that's what Trump was doing. And it was God behind it the whole time. Because all of a sudden, maybe in one day, all the puzzle pieces fall into place. Saudi Arabia is happy. All of the Middle East is okay with Jews. Maybe Trump is putting everybody in a stranglehold, because I saw another video with the girl with the long curly hair on JNS saying something about what Trump is doing with Saudi Arabia and how he's kind of getting them, pulling their arm behind their back to hopefully get them to succumb to joining the Abraham Accords. But of course, they're for a Palestinian state, which is demonic. You can't do that. They don't exist. Those people are not a people. They're just a bunch of freaking hellions. What do they say about the Indian tribes, Native American Indians? I mean, being from Oklahoma, I used to know quite a few of the Indian tribes, but there's one tribe, and I can't remember which one it is. I think it's the Cherokee, but don't quote me on that. Maybe it's but it's a well-known Indian. I think Geronimo was part of that. There's this one Indian tribe, whatever their name is. All they are all the criminal Indians from all the other tribes that were kicked out of their tribe, and they made a new tribe, and they're all convicts. They're all bad Indians, and they made a name for their own tribe, and I forget the name of them, but it's a big name. And that's all these Palestinians are. They're just a bunch of losers that have procreated over there, that went there to cause trouble. They were on Israeli land in the first place. They were invited to stay, but no. They have an old history of hating Jews, and these Intifada things where they, there's a lot of good history. There's a lot of good channels out there right now talking about the histories of the Muslims and how they have always tried to overtake. They're the original slave owners and slave sellers. Not maybe super original, but they're the ones that did all that. Anyway, well, that's all. I'm just thinking this is so highly retarded and insane and absolutely zero sense that it has to be God. Like I've said before, when stuff like crazy like this happens, it's God. God is making it bad to where it'll fall. He's taking people's minds and their sense away from common sense so that we can do, not us personally, but so that the evil surroundings among us can do what they need to do without us opening our mouth and standing up against it, just like Jesus on the cross. And I mean, even in Revelation, I read, it said, basically, they will look upon him whom they have pierced. Now, technically, the Romans did all this, but the Jews were screaming for it, yes, but God blinded them. When Jesus came, he already knew that they would do this because he needed to die. He needed to lay his life down. It's a plan. It's part of a huge plan, okay? So we're going to figure it out when we get to heaven. But meanwhile, God does this stuff over and over again, I think. I think he has blinded a lot of the good people until we're now kind of waking up, but it's almost like it's too late. And it's so that the evil can prevail, so that the plan can be, the prophecy can be implemented. And anyway, it's so crazy. It's either God or, and it's even God guiding Trump to do these dumb shit things, like not kill Satan. Or it could be Trump and the military team being guided by God to wait and to draw it out and to play the long game, because they got all their ducks in a row, in an instant, all the pieces are going to fall together and everybody is going to move in for the kill, go for the jugular. Reza's going to move in. Saudi Arabia and all the Middle Eastern countries are going to be, because somebody else was explaining about, maybe it was Walicki or the girl on JNS, how, who was that? Anyway, they were describing, maybe it was neither one of those. I can almost think of who it is. But anyway, I think I shared their video. And they are basically, oh, it was Ben Shapiro. And he was explaining, I think it was that video where he says, yeah, Candace thinks I'm making Trump do all this stuff. And it was a video he was explaining before that video where he's saying Candace is accusing him. The video before that he said he was giving his opinion on the latest move that Trump did with somebody over there. I think it was over there. And he's like, maybe it was at the plains with Turkey, but he's saying that nobody would have a problem or need nuclear if you got rid of the problem. And then all these Middle Eastern countries wouldn't need to be nuclear. And they're all Muslim anyway, which don't believe in nuclear is what I understand. The Muslim religion, supposedly, I said that a while back because I heard that a while back. Anyway, I don't know what all this is, but it's out of our control, except for just praying for it. I pray for Trump, Bibi, Reza, the war, the law, all that. So, like I said, we can get mad, but in the end, we have to say, okay, I cried on your shoulder, Jesus. I cast my care. I let off some steam. I ranted and let it out. But in the end, it's God who allowed it all. Even if we had bad decisions made, if that were even the case, which Trump, I don't think, can make any bad decisions because he's too smart for that. So at the end of the day, if we don't like something and it's blatantly wrong and we know it's wrong and we're mad about it, that's okay, because we should be mad at evil. But in the end, it's God that let it happen. I mean, of course, I'm not talking about little things in life. I'm talking about these big issues in the world right now. Some of it is our fault, probably. Anyway, okay, so I guess that's all I wanted to say. I think it is definitely in God's control for sure. No matter which one it is, major retardation, major blinding, major long game, chessboard stuff, whatever it all is, whether it's massive retardation, chaos, or whether it's a long game, brilliant long game, both are because God has allowed the devil to win over the stupid and the retardation and the confusion. Or he is over here counseling the White House and Trump and the military cabinet into a brilliant plan. Okay? All right. God bless you guys. And maybe I'll get on here soon. I want to go back over a few more chapters in Revelation. And then I'm, going over the refreshing on the minor prophets. And I'm this New Jerusalem and then the new heaven and new earth. Well, that's all fine. That's all fine and good. Those are two separate things. The New Jerusalem comes down after maybe the new heaven and new earth, but it doesn't change the fact that before the new heaven and earth and the New Jerusalem, there is still a heaven and earth and there is still a Jerusalem before. So in other words, the new heaven, new earth, and New Jerusalem, that's way far down the road after 1,000 years. That's a whole nother thing. And who knows when we're going to be in heaven after the 1,000 years. When are we going to be in heaven for all eternity? So this new heaven, new earth, new Jerusalem, that's a whole nother thingy going on way after. Well, we can think about it, sure, but I'm not going to be concerned about that. I'm trying to get through today, make it to be raptured, and and then be in the 1,000 years and all this. But what it's always a mirror. It's always mirrored. So still because look, we're having a great tribulation at the end of all this, right? For 7 years. But then also at the end of the 1,000 years, there's going to be another one, something like that, where Satan is released, okay? It's always a repeat and a mirror type thing. You got the old version, you got the new version, okay? Well, it's going to be the same thing in the trib to me. It's going to be this Jerusalem thing that's hidden. I'm just trying to fit it in when Jesus is going to step on the mount. I know it's not at the end. I can almost bet you that. I'll just say bet, even though I don't bet. But he steps on that foot of Mount of Olives in the very beginning or in the middle. And also something else happens in the middle when it's run for the hills. Something else happens. And then there's somewhere in one of those chapters that Jesus, the 10 kings try to kill Jesus. And I think it's either, that's what I'm going to find out. Have they killed the whore first and then they go after, I think they go after Jesus first and he conquers them. Then they go kill the whore. Well, while Jesus is conquering the 10 kings that are going after him, guess what it says? He says, my chosen. He uses, I think, 3 examples. And it sure sounds like the 144,000. And they're fighting with him. That mirrors at the very end when Jesus comes back on the horse with all of us on a horse. He's always mirroring and doing things again. And they seem to get on a higher and higher and higher level and a better level. So to me, in the 7-year trib, yeah, the Jews, Ezekiel 38, Zechariah 14, all that fits into the trib where these Jews are hidden. Jacob's trouble. I shared you the verse. It says, but God is going to save them from that. What do you guys think? That God's going to save them from Jacob's trouble at the very end? That's not what the verse says. Why do you insinuate that to mean that? No, he says Jacob is Israel. Jacob isn't Jews. So yeah, Israel will be going through trouble, but the Jews will be hidden, is how I see it. And so I will eventually get back on here and share what I think. All right, God bless you guys. Bye.